Last night, people protesting in
Not
camp.
letting people talk you out of your power.
How do we build a movement that allows us to respond to all the names that people don't know?
People begin to think it's isolated. That's the problem. We're not angry enough. This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families by impacted families. The focus is on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone.
When the campers are gone, people leave. We have to be there for each other.
Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police-sponsored violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how we can get involved.
I tell families, fight, everybody can do something, that you don't have to sit home and feel helpless and hopeless. We gotta stop allowing people to talk about our power. That's the main thing.
Can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead and try here. We didn't.
People pictures of your child's obituary.
Mhm.
Let them see why you won't give up.
That's it.
That's also, they got them in the mail. They've got them dropped off at their office. Because y'all gonna remember who Amir Locke is.
Make them totally
Yeah.
uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Like I said, keep doing whatever you need to do when something comes up in your city. And that's the thing. One problem is everybody's problem.
That's right.
And in order for them to stop doing what they're doing, they're pushing this movement that is consisting of really strong people with voices. And we're not gonna tire. We're not gonna let in, we're gonna let up, we're not gonna shut up. And that's what I told them from day one. I'm not shutting up at all. Even if it's just you. One person told me, sometimes if you even do it on your own, you have the biggest voice. I could just stand outside by myself and shout justice for Amir Locke, and it's gonna rain because I'm his mother.
Right.
So, and like I said, we are boots on the ground. Boots on the ground means, you know what, like I told them, that day when they said, we are not going to charge him, I said, y'all did y'all job, now I'm about to do mine. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Good evening, you guys. Good evening. My name is Latoya Benton, and this is Life After the Impact. I am the mother of Xavier Hill, who was killed by 2 Virginia State police officers on January the 9th, 2021. Tonight, our mom will be joined with Roxanne, but she is absent tonight. But I am joined tonight by the lovely Mrs. Taun Hall. Do you want to go ahead and give a brief introduction of who you are?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the work you guys are doing in your son's name. My son, Miles Hall, was shot and killed on June 2nd, 2019 by Walnut Creek police while experiencing a mental health episode. And yeah, so I'm really just trying to take, he was 23 years old, African-American, and I'm trying to take out now the work that I've been doing now is just to decriminalize mental illness because of the way that people with mental health challenges are treated, and we shouldn't have to use police as resources. So that's why I've created the Miles Hall Foundation to honor him.
So just real fast, we're talking about the Miles Hall Foundation, because I don't want to touch too much on what happened with Miles without kind of like touching like too much on what Miles, because people, and y'all can look it up. Just like any other story, they're online as well. And to not make this mom to have to re-experience that same trauma again, because I'm not gonna have her go through that. You can please look the story up. I do realize her son was killed in an incident of a mental health crisis. So we're gonna kind of just like leave it like that. However, moving forward, let's talk about one as far as legislation is concerned. A lot of people say, hey, I've had a family member tell me, why do we keep fighting when we can't change the system? Do you believe that?
Do I believe that? Why do we keep saying that again about keep
Why do we
fighting?
keep fighting if we can't change the system?
Well, the thing is that you can change the system if you keep fighting.
Right.
So
That's
I
right.
think that's the thing that, you know, with when Miles was killed, we live in a very white community, and there hadn't been a police shooting in 7 years here.
Hmm.
And when Miles was shot and killed, I didn't understand where the outrage was. There was no outrage here.
Hmm.
Like, you know, my Black son was killed here and he wasn't a criminal, and why was there no media coverage?
When you
So
say here, where did this happen at?
So it was in Walnut Creek, California. And like I said, it's the more affluent area. It's I think maybe percentage of Black people that live here is maybe 4%. It's very low. But we had to create our almost like Black Lives Matter here throughout our community. And the thing that I saw here was that my Black son was, people stood up for him, and it didn't matter what race they were, right? Because we had to create that, though. We had to create the momentum in the city that, like, this happened here and in Walnut Creek, and it just goes to show you it could happen anywhere. It doesn't
So
matter.
did y'all get the media exposure that most cases or some cases get it all with Miles's case, or no?
No, we didn't get any. So that was where we kind of, you know, we started going to all the city council meetings, the 2 meetings a month. We just really mobilized our community. I had friends that started a kind of like a Facebook page. That's kind of how it started. It was called FOSATH, Friends of Scott, Alexis, and Taun Hall.
Okay.
So they started that, and then kind of one by one, it got bigger. So as my friends saw that I wanted to fight, they were right there with me. So, you know, showing up to city council meetings, a lot of people I didn't know were also active, you know, activists and trying to demand something from Walnut Creek. And one thing is that the officers, right after Miles was shot and killed, within 10 days, they were allowed to go back on duty.
Wow.
So, you know, my son was killed by police while experiencing a mental health episode, and they had knowledge of it, and they still came with guns.
Wow.
So that's really, you know, Miles didn't need a response that involved police.
Yeah. So what did you guys looking for concrete here? It's like you say, he needed a response by the police. I know you've been doing a lot of work on the ground as far as getting a different response when these things do happen. Can you kind of elaborate on the Miles Hall Foundation?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So our mission is basically to educate communities about mental illness and protect those most impacted by excessive use of force by law enforcement. So our goals are that police won't show up to mental health calls because, again, it's the criminalization. We don't need police at all when you don't need, when you're have someone in a mental health emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Many times, you know, these police officers only have 8 to 10 hours of training in mental health experience. And, you know, our demand with the foundation, with the work we're doing, is that we have a non-police response to mental health calls. So something that's happened in our state, in California, is nationally there's a number called 988.
988. No, do you have that number to flash on the screen, or a flyer at all to flash on the screen so people can see that at all? You can keep talking this time.
Yeah. So 988 was mandated, I think in 2019, and it's a number. So it used to be a suicide prevention hotline number, and it used to be like an 800 number that was really long. And what the change is for nationally, for every state, now every state has a 988 number. Wow. So what will happen in most states is you have the ability to text, you'll have the ability to chat, and every state's different in the functionalities and how in depth it is. So that's great. That's a good thing to have, because it helps people mostly in suicide prevention.
Okay.
So what happened was right after my son was killed, I was looking everywhere. I was trying to find like resources. So one thing, when you're out there and boots on the ground is you need to talk to your legislators.
Yes.
You need to talk to your city council. You need to
Yes.
talk to your board of supervisors. So what we did is we started door knocking on legislators saying, hey, we want to set up meetings. My son was murdered by police, and he was unarmed. He did have a garden tool he was holding that he thought was the staff from God, but he wasn't brandishing it towards anybody. So we found the right legislator. Her name's Assemblywoman Rebecca Bauer-Cain, and she's in Orinda, California. And she basically, she was like, what would have been helpful? And I said, well, what would have been helpful is if we didn't have to call the police.
That's right.
If we had a number that we could have called, because that number would have saved Miles. We would have had the right response. So what is happening here in California is with 988 as a national number. In California, we've created assembly bills called the Miles Hall Lifeline Act and Suicide Prevention. And what that is that people will have a number to call, but in California, you'll also have a mobile crisis unit that will come out that has trained professionals. So it'll have, so it'll have a peer, someone who might understand someone who's having mental illness. It'll have a trained professional, a trained mental health professional. So while my son had schizoaffective disorder, and what that is you have delusions and hallucinations. So when the police came and responded, within 30 seconds, they were screaming and yelling at him. You don't do that when someone's in a mental health episode. And Miles thought he was God. So he was in a state that he just needed someone to understand and give him compassion and say, hey man, it's okay, you're God, or you know what I mean? Just talk to him on his level. And that's the police are not trained to do that.
But shooting guns there, having a gun like that, that's not gonna help out at all, period.
No, and they're coming with, they're armed, right? So the response is they're trained to kill.
Yeah.
But but the response for people with mental health challenges is they don't need a response like that. They need a compassionate response. So that's what AB 988, the Miles Hall Lifeline Act and Suicide Prevention is geared to do. It's going to set that caller up. So for myself, I call 911, I need help. They're going to, for one, I don't need to call 911, I call 988.
988.
And they're now going to send a unit that is like I said, has the right response.
Now, if someone called 988 outside of California, what happens?
Yeah, so 988, it's a national thing. So every state has 988. So what'll happen is they can call and it will support that person in their crisis. So if someone's having suicidal ideation, they'll have someone that they can talk to that will give them resources to help them. So it's
not the police.
It's still the police, right? The police are still, and all the other states are still coming. And also, right now in California, it's not fully developed yet. So many times you might call 988 and you're still gonna get the police. It's been almost a year now that it's been a law, but as we know, laws take time to implement.
To develop.
Yeah. But the good thing with the really good thing that California is doing, it's along with 5 other states, is that because of 988, there's a whole telecom, right? So you have the whole telecom that has funding, and California was able to get funding. So that's part of what this new bill is. It was funded by telecom. So 988, the number, is funding some of the programs that will be beneficial for Californians to have a mobile crisis unit. So
that's really, I mean, even the developer knows that. I want the listeners to understand that what we're talking about right now is how after Miles had got into by the police, his mom was able to develop another number outside of 911 by calling 988. as she was saying, as with any law, y'all know how it works, and that's with anything. It takes time to build, a structure. But it's
Yeah.
amazing to know that you can call somebody, and the police might still show up at this point, but to know that you're still building it to a point where they will not show up, and someone has a proper training, the proper care, because Miles should still be here today.
Yeah, no, thank you. As your son too, right? I mean, and so many others. I mean, it's,
Absolutely.
watching those videos that you had, I mean, recognize so many faces. It's just, like we say, we're in this club, you don't want to belong. And that's why,
Hello?
I mean, that's why we work so hard, the work you're doing to like make sure other people know what's happening out there and other families and who've been affected by police terrorism. And, that's why if we can remove police when they don't need to be there, right? And take away that criminalization,
Right.
then we're saving lives. And that's our main goal, And there's also some other exciting things that are happening with 988 and on the federal level. There's a bill they're in the works right now trying to get passed. It's called the 988 Implementation Act. And what that would do is it would help all the other states help them get funding. So they'll through the rest of the nation, because right now California has funding because we're using it through telecom.
Gotcha.
But this 988 Implementation Act is trying to help give states more funding so that they can have more resources to support families in need.
And that's what it's about. It's about, you can start that, you plant that seed where you're at, right? The seed's supposed to grow, right? They're supposed to grow and branch out. So we're not branching out to help. We always talk about our own backyard, but I don't live in your backyard. I live many miles away. But I know your story, Xavier's story, I know your son's story. If you can, that can help us out tremendously here in any state.
Absolutely.
And then to know the groundwork of how to get those things done. People will say, well, you can just Google it. Why I gotta Google it? If you already got the steps of how to say, just tell us how to get things done. We're working together to get the same common goal done. Right.
No, absolutely. And I think, and the thing is that it just really takes you getting in front of the right people. It's almost like a little cocktail of the right ingredients. And because as we know, a lot of times we're working hard, we're pushing hard to make change, and it just feels like it's not happening.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because you're not getting anywhere, the way the system is set up, it's set up so we will fail and we will get tired. Yeah. So I just encourage all other families that are in the same situation is try to create other people that will walk alongside with you. There's a lot of activists out there who do want to help and will be by your side. But I did notice in the video, that a lot of people say, when you're in this fight, like everyone's going to be with you at the beginning, right? And then everyone tends to leave at the end. But I would say that we're really just trying to keep Miles's name elevated. Also because Miles represents so many more other people who have been killed by police in the same instance, right? When Miles was 23 years old, very, kind. He loved music. He wouldn't kill a spider. I mean, he was that gentle, So for someone like my son, Miles, who wasn't a criminal, to have that type of response when he wasn't well that can't be for that shouldn't be for Miles, and it can't be for
everybody.
People that
we had Oscar being on the show a couple months ago. His son was 12. I'm sorry, 15. He was 15 when this happened to him. And it was it was the same kind of instance. He was having a really horrible day. He was 15. He was going about a breakup. And it was like how the police, I think within 2 minutes of getting to his house, they killed his son. Within 2 minutes, it's happened here in Virginia. So I'm like, imagine if we had 988 available, what could have?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what was his name again?
His son's name is Ruben. Ruben, and Oscar is his father. It happened in, I think, 2017, I think it was. But he was 15 years old. And within 2 minutes of getting to their house, the police killed him. Not only they killed him, but then within 4 days, of this happening, the DA decided not to indict the officers. So it's
Right.
like, you know, we have things like that happening everywhere. I think when we
Yeah.
get connections like this to understand, like, this can't keep happening and no one does something about it.
Right, right. And that's the thing, it's so normalized now in our
Yeah.
society. Like every day, like there's, you know, oh, there's someone else who's been killed, you know. It's not
Right.
like that for us because we're in this now, right? We're in this
Right.
fight. So for us, it's like we get killed again. Like, oh my gosh, like what happened? You know, like
Right.
feel the pain every day. Like
Right.
every day. I can't watch the TV sometimes, the news, because it literally puts a dagger through my heart, you know, like it just brings up so much pain again,
Each time.
right? Each time, right? And it's like, but we can't normalize this. We can't normalize that, you know, that people who are being killed by police, this is okay. And somehow people who don't understand and who are not in this club you don't want to be in, like they don't understand and they don't get it. And then they're still going to be so like, you know, so like praise the police still. Like, no, you can't. No, the police are here to protect and serve and to protect the most vulnerable. And the ones that are vulnerable, you know, don't need to be
They're
criminalized.
down the most. Yeah,
Right.
that's the same part. They're the ones that down the most still like they're like the
Yes.
youngest ones getting younger and younger and younger.
Right, right. And, you know, they're coming out here and they don't have a weapon, you know. So we're also looking at the criminalization of our skin color, you know, and as we know, Black people are getting killed at a higher rate than white people.
That's right.
People in a mental health episode are 16 times more likely to be killed by police. So we have to change. If police aren't showing up to mental health calls, then they have
Bring somebody else out there.
Right, right.
That's it.
Someone who's trained.
That's it. Now, real fast time before we wrap it up. I want to talk about the foundation. After this all happened as well, too, you guys started with the Mouse Hall Foundation. I was saying how like that. It's Hall. I don't know what's on my tongue. But I did it 2 times. It's Mouse Hall Foundation. Melissa, you can put, I'm sorry, no, real fast. Just I want you to flash on the screen to the foundation. As far as what we're talking about, when it comes to having resources, we as family members too, we have to build these same resources. You guys take the time out, please, to check this foundation out. Taun, you want to go ahead and explain to them what's going on here with the foundation and what you guys have developed here?
Yeah, I mean, right now, you know, we have 3 buckets that really 4 that we're really trying to focus on is advocacy, prevention, and education, and also like, you know, implementation, right? So our advocacy is to make sure people understand about mental illness, and a lot of people don't even know like the symptoms. So we want people to understand that. We want to advocate. We want to advocate for others who might have been killed by police. And we also, we really want to keep changing legislation because there's so much work to do in legislation still, as we scratch the surface, but there's so much more work to do to improve better outcomes. So we have, our children can live and thrive and be here with us. Miles wanted to have a family, you know, he wanted to have a family, he wanted a girlfriend, he wanted a job, you know, he wanted a dog, that he had a special dog he wanted, you know what I mean? So we just have to, you know,
Keep working.
Yeah, keep working. Yeah, and like I said, it's, you know, our main focus is to decrease implicit bias.
Right.
That which is so hard because everyone has, you know, your mind makes up
that
stories.
mindset, that mind, they will lead, and it's like when they believe that mindset, we call it culture conditioning.
Yeah, okay.
And certain parts of the culture are just like they are trained to think this way, and it's like they're gonna think that way. You can tell them, you can point to it and tell them, say, "Hey, this is not how it's supposed to be." But that mindset thinks like that. I think we gotta just keep, you know, knocking at that door to. It's not open.
Yeah,
open.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. So true.
All you do is keep working. So Ms. Taun, I thank you so much tonight for joining me tonight. Again, Mel, just one more time, please put that for the foundation that I'm telling you, like it's. I was so impressed when I saw the foundation page because when these things happen to us, we have we have nothing to look for, nothing as far as resources are concerned. So you guys, please check the Mouse Hall Foundation because again, Mouse Hall Foundation out. This is about mental health. Her son was killed by the police in a mental health crisis. Also look into the number 988. Also look into the number 988 as far as the national number is concerned. If you look on the screen here, the bill is up here as well. As she stated again, he's trying to get done on a national level. We talked to a lot of families who, they talk about their cases, which is, that's fine. But I want to learn, we should all be here to learn. That's what we're all here for. People say all the time, okay, how do we make change? This is how you make change. You make change by coming on, learning what you can do, not only in the state of California, but you can take it on to your own state as well. And this Taun Hall has done that. So if you guys see the bill coming to your state, support that bill. Not only support the bill, but make sure you get it passed in your state as well, so that and get it enforced as well. As far as what comes out there in business, not for police, like she just said, when you see bills like this being passed, they're on how you say, they're on for the assembly and whatnot. We gotta put support behind that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yes, please, thank you again for having me today. Visit us at www.themousehallfoundation.org. Sign up for our newsletters where you can see the things that we're doing. Just because we're trying to, like I said, change the culture for mental illness, for mental health, and make sure that people have safe alternatives to thrive and live that do not involve the police. Because as we know, mother to mother, has tragic consequences that shouldn't be. So yeah, thank you for doing the work you're doing. I really appreciate it.
I thank you as well. I thank you for sharing. Like I said, it's important to build a network. Oftentimes we don't have, I've seen different sites before, but I'm saying as far as having the resources there, that's imperative. Because sometimes things they're not there. As far as the legislation is concerned, it is important. I feel I know it's important for us to build the laws and whatnot to change. That's how we get accountability and justice. We can't bring our kids back, and I understand that. I understand that. I accept that. But I do know they're working for change. Is how we're gonna make change, and I believe that. I really believe that. I really believe that. So let me stop because I'm gonna get my feelings. But I thank you so much for tonight because, like I said, it's about seeing that change there for real. That's truly what it's about. That's we can achieve that. We can't have that mind defeat. We cannot. So I thank you for work that you've done as well. So keep pushing forward because you inspired me as well.
Thank you. I'm inspired by you too. So thank you.
All right, Ms. Taun Hall, you guys please check her website out. Oh, real fast. How about a picture? Can we get a picture of Miles up real fast if you don't mind before we get off this? There he is. Got no here in tears, man. I'm trying to get it together. So there's Miles, you guys. Y'all please be sure to check out her website tonight. And it's not just a website, it's a foundation. It's about building a community. We have good people say all the time, we don't have the resources. Well, here you go. Here's a resource right here. You can support this mom and keep in mind, she made sure that it didn't stop us in California. She made sure this is a nationwide thing. We see all the time about people getting killed by the police and mental health crisis. So 988 is real simple. 988. You can call that number. As she said already, it's not all the way developed. It's still coming developed, whatnot. But because she's still working to help this mom still work, guys. You all, good night. Thank you all. See you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
I think if you turn them off, that means you're guilty, period.
Well, and I saw an interview in regards to my son, because Kim Potter came in after my son's murder and told those officers to turn their body-worn cameras off. And when I saw one of the news stories about one of the people on the other side talking about this is what he said. So the reason for the body-worn cameras is to capture the interaction with the public. So his logic was, once that murder's happened and then we've turned it off, then we're done dealing with the public. Now we're, trying to do our little cover up. Just my words, my words.
Damage control, we're trying to damage control.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, being in that situation, it's as important as to see what happened that took my son from me, but it's almost as important or more important to see what happened exactly afterwards.